I am Marjorie Jackson with the Washington Stand, and I am here at the Pray Vote Stand Summit in Atlanta, Georgia. This is a big event kicking off here, and we're so excited to be featuring so many amazing speakers, including Katy Faust. Katy is joining us here. She is the leader and the director of Them Before Us. It's a child advocacy group. Katy, I want to know everything. What does your organization do? What are you talking about here at the summit?
Yes. Them Before Us defends children's rights. Many of you are familiar and understand that children have a right to life. Children also have a right to their mother and father, and if we can defend that right, we get every question about marriage and family exactly right as well. So tonight, I am going to be talking about the Respect for Marriage Act that the Senate is going to take up probably sometime next week, and I'm going to talk about how redefining marriage is an act of injustice for children because it violates their rights.
How does the Respect for Marriage Act violate the rights of children? I feel like there's probably a lot of misunderstanding, even among conservatives, about why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, well, because when you redefine marriage, you redefine parenthood, right? When husbands and wives become optional in marriage, mothers and fathers become optional in parenthood laws. And we've actually seen a radical redefinition of parenthood already since Obergefell. But Obergefell, the Supreme Court ruling that legalized gay marriage across the country, was in Justice Thomas's opinion, an illegitimate ruling, right? Because it was on the same basis as the Roe ruling, which was thrown out because it was founded on substantive due process. So now, the Democrats are concerned, and I think kind of looking to score some easy political points by legislating same-sex marriage all across the land. So instead of doing it through judicial fiat, they're going to do it through the legislature. So that is a problem. That's a problem because already since Obergefell, I don't know of any federal government institution that would even say that children should have a mother and father. Because now even saying children should have a mother and father often constitutes discrimination. So it's discriminatory to say kids have a mom and dad, need a mom and dad, have a right to a mom and dad, and that is a problem because children do have a right to a mom and dad. They need a mom and dad. They long for their own mom and dad. And our laws, this law, this Respect for Marriage Act, is actually going to disrespect the rights of children.
You know, Katy, one of the opposing arguments I often hear is that from people who are pro same-sex marriage is that it's not really hurting anyone, so why do you care if someone loves someone? What does that matter to you? It's not hurting anyone. What would you say to that?
Yeah, well, what is the Respect for Marriage Act? It's actually designed to completely strike down DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act that was passed in 1996. And when Congress, on a bipartisan basis, passed DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, they told us why. They told us why government is even interested in marriage to begin with. And it's not about whether or not you love someone, whether or not you feel a deep connection with somebody, right? Government doesn't actually care about your love life. DOMA told us that government has an interest in marriage because it has an interest in children. That is the state's interest in marriage, not how two adults feel about one another. And so what happens when the state then recognizes a union that is non-procreative? Because that's really what you're doing here. Well, it means that children are no longer a central aspect of marriage, which is a tragedy because this institution alone has been the most child-friendly institution the world has ever known. And when you redefine marriage, you just turn it into a vehicle of adult fulfillment. So children are no longer at the center. And that's very problematic because children need to be prioritized in matters of marriage and family. When they're not, then they end up being items that are cut and pasted into any and every adult relationship. And that just means that their rights are sacrificed so adults can live as they please.
Katy, you keep talking about a child's right to a father and a mother. What does it look like when maybe that right is not being fulfilled when they don't come from a two-parent household?
Yeah, so if a child, for example, and my nonprofit, we are indiscriminate in terms of our criticism. We believe that all adults, single, married, gay and straight, fertile and infertile, all conform to the rights of children. But on this topic, when you're talking about redefining marriage, you're talking about endorsing homes with two moms or two dads. So what's at stake for those kids? Well, they're always going to be missing a biological parent. And social science tells us that biological parents advantage children in ways that unrelated adults do not. they're always going to be missing at least 50% of their biological identity. And that's something that matters to kids, right? Whether you're adopted, whether you're created through sperm or egg donation, these kids overwhelmingly long to know the two people responsible for giving them life. And often if they don't know them, they experience identity struggles. And third, children benefit from the distinct mothering and fathering that they get from a male parent and a female parent. So different are the ways that men and women interact with children that many sociologists will say there's no such thing as parenting. There's only mothering and fathering, and kids need both. And we've got some time of having same-sex couples raising kids, and some of them are beginning to tell their stories. My organization represents a lot of them. And what they say is, I loved my two moms, or I loved my two dads, but I hungered for the love of my missing mom, and I hungered for the love of my missing dad. So kids don't just need to be loved. They long to be loved by both a mother and a father.
Well, we're at this conference that is not just conservative, it's not just political, but we're talking about things from a biblical worldview. Yeah. Katie, I know that this is a personal subject as well. How can Christians, and maybe even from your own experience, how can Christians love the LGBT community, especially if they have friends or family members who fall in that category?
Yeah, my mom is in a relationship with her partner. I don't consider her partner to be my mom. I do consider her partner to be my friend. And they're both very, very important to me. I hope that when they think about people who love them, I'm in the top two. I pray. And we can absolutely love people while disagreeing. And I would say that Christians, if you're going to do life well, you will love people and you must disagree, right? And so, yeah, there's a delicate dance sometimes, but it never involves hiding or compromising biblical truth. Because compromising on biblical truth, especially when it comes to marriage and family, is always going to make child victims. And that is not anything that Christians should ever be doing.
Last question. So how can Christians, how can conservatives advocate for the rights of kids?
Well, I think that the pro-life world has shown us how to do it, right? Personally, we need to care for the kids in our own lives, whether it's our own children, whether it's the children around us who have experienced loss or brokenness, maybe kids that are in the middle of a messy divorce, the boy next door who has two moms, the child who's got a single mom and who doesn't have a father in his life, right? We can bring them into our lives. We can fold them into our homes. We can lavish on them the maternal or paternal love that they're missing. So I really think that there's a place for us to be the hands and the voice of Christ to kids who are in these situations where they're missing a mom and dad, and we need to speak up. We need to stop cowering, and we need to start fighting on behalf of children. In matters of policy, the goal is not empathy for adults. In matters of policy, the goal is justice for the least of these. And you will never get justice for the least of these if you redefine marriage.
Katy, your passion is contagious. Thank you so much for your time and for being here at the Pray Vote Stand Summit.